The moment is here, you can stop your search. It's Comics by Perch.
Hey everybody, this is Perch. Where do I want to begin with this? First of all, let's just say the offset. People tweet stupid things. There's lots of examples of this. It is not a news headline that people are dumb and say dumb things. And so I don't want to go after this particular individual, although most of you, will want to. And I don't think this person is a good journalist by any stretch of the imagination, but that's not what this video is about. It's about the idea that this person is mentioning. So this is something that was posted by Heidi McDonald. And she says this. And she's responding to something that was deleted and everything else. But she says, well, I'm not a retailer. But in the replies to this, I see a lot of cranky, all caps, older readers complaining the big two are not for them. Guess what? You need to bring in new readers, including younger readers, or your brand dies. The problem is that comic periodicals aren't for kids. The problem is that comics periodicals aren't for kids. Okay? So, again, I don't know what she's responding to here, and I don't know what set this whole thing off. But, let's explore this a little bit, because this gets thrown around a lot. And there's some really basic logic that just fails in this instance. And it's basically the idea of, hey, if you don't bring in new readers, your brand will die. Well, that's true, but it's misleading. If it had added context below, like a little Twitter comment context, it would say, misleading. Because yes, it's true. If there is a brand and over the course of 100 years, one audience attaches to it and no new people ever come into it, then yeah, eventually that brand will die. However, that's rarely how it works. So if people bring up like old department stores like Woolworths or Kmart or places like that. And they're like, well, look, see these things, or Sears. These places, they didn't appeal to a new. No, not really. The problem wasn't that they didn't appeal to a new audience. The problem was that it was more convenient to use other stores. The retail business it wasn't that the brand was bad. It's that everyone, including their loyal customers, including the new generation, everyone just started going somewhere else because, hey, why am I going to Sears when the prices aren't there? It's easier to shop on Amazon. There's specialty stores to do this. I mean, that's why those stores went away. They didn't go away by failing to, have merchandise or have stock that appealed to young people. It went away because there were better places to buy the stock. And that is an important difference. With Marvel and DC, the one part about Heidi's statement, again, whatever she is referring to, the one part that is true is Marvel and DC need to put out books that appeal to younger readers. Are they doing this today? The answer is no. By and large, they are not. Yes, DC has Scooby-Doo book and everything else, but by and large, the efforts that have been cited around appealing to new readers and getting kind of younger audiences on board and everything else, the efforts that have been in this area have failed. They're failing today. So the problem is she's conflating kind of two things together, saying, hey, retailers and older readers, all in caps. I got news for you, Heidi. You are older. But anyway, when you say older readers like that, the inference is that the older readers are complaining like, I just want things to be exactly as they were when I was reading comics back when I was a kid. Okay, that's not exactly what people are saying. In fact, it's not really close to what people are saying if we really digest it and look at it. What people are saying is, hey, the comics aren't as good as they were in the past. That's very different from saying the comics need to be exactly like they were in the past. When people were collecting comics in the 90s, and when you've seen popular runs, when Civil War was going on, you did not see a lot of people going, these Marvel comics need to be more like they were in the 80s. you were not hearing a lot of people saying that. And you weren't hearing people say these comics aren't as good as they were in the past because Civil War is selling really, really well. People were into it. There's a lot of excitement around it. I know not all of you love Civil War, but from a sales perspective, it did really well. And it carried a lot of the Marvel line with it. The issue is not that people just want things stuck. They want the comic itself to be good. And where in the weird kind of uncanny valley that comics finds itself in, the comic is not feeling good to a lot of readers. And simultaneously, it's not pulling in new readers who could, in theory, replace the older readers. But the other kind of big flaw here, and this is something that gets repeated in comics a lot, is the idea that you have to basically kill the past, kill off the old readers in order to get the new readers. And that is absurd. All the brands that have been successful year after year, I mean, so we'll switch it over to food. You take something like McDonald's. McDonald's continues to hang in there as a place. And guess what? It still sells a hamburger and a Whopper and a Quarter Pounder. And I don't think those burgers have significantly changed much in the last 60 years. I mean, maybe, but I mean, by and large, it's the same shit they've been selling for decades. And if you had somebody come into McDonald's and as an executive and say, you know what we need to do? We need to get new people into McDonald's. We need to get young people into McDonald's. So take the Big Mac and take the hamburger, the cheeseburger, and the Quarter Pounder. We're going to take them all off the menu. And instead, we're going to serve salads. Just salads. Because younger people are more health conscious and they like salads. And so we're going to sell salads and not sell any of these burgers. Well, here's what would happen. Their old audience, their existing audience, not even old, existing. And that's one of the problems, by the way, with the way Heidi describes it, is older readers. No, you mean existing readers. By categorizing them as old, you're putting them in a box. But these are the people currently keeping the company afloat. So if you did this at McDonald's, the existing customers would stop buying. They would stop going. Okay, they come in for a burger. There's no burger. They're not going to go, well, I think I'll try this out. I mean, some will for sure, but a lot of people go into McDonald's expecting a burger. Meanwhile, the younger new audience would not suddenly go, you know what? I've always thought McDonald's was a fucking joke, and greasy, shitty place to be, and that's why I go and I eat at, bespoke craft eateries that are going to serve me avocado toast or whatever. I'm now going to McDonald's. They serve salads now. I'm going there. No, they're not going either. So what happens is McDonald's loses their existing audience, doesn't get the new audience, and then dive bombs into nowhere. And that is a strategy that we keep hearing espoused as the right thing to do in comics. Hey, we should stop doing things that appeal to our existing audience, and instead we're going to do things that we think will appeal to a new audience. Except the problem is the new audience, by and large, does not care about your comics, doesn't want to go into your comics, and isn't interested as a whole. Certainly not as a big enough number to make up for the existing audience plus grow a little. And again, the reality we've seen from comics for decades, because it turns out people collecting comics in the 60s, it turns out there were new people in the 90s collecting comics and new people in 2010 collecting comics. New. The business wasn't still the same people who were collecting comics since the 60s. There were new people there. And now how did they manage this? Well, because they kept appealing to their existing audience while they tried small things. Like for Marvel, you had the Star line for young kids. You had the Max line for older readers. You're trying different things all the time, but you're making sure never isolate your existing base, because those people are going to keep buying comics. Meanwhile, try and bait people in who will be new to the story. And that's why McDonald's very successfully said, we can sell coffee that's better than Starbucks. And they build it and they market it that way. They were not Starbucks. They weren't a coffee house. But they're like, we think that if we sell coffee, we're going to keep selling all the burgers that our existing audience wants. But we're also going to start selling coffee, and hopefully we'll pull a couple people in. And they did. McDonald's was very successful in adding that to their menu and basically finding a way to con people out of, like, previously they sold their coffee for like $1. Now you can sell it for $3.60 like Starbucks. Hey, more money for marginal change and effort and a bunch of marketing. That's how you do it properly. Keep your existing audience, figure out small things you want to do to entice a new audience, get them into the mix, and then, amazingly enough, the new audience that comes in because the coffee is more convenient for them to get at McDonald's and Starbucks, buy hash browns or pancakes if it's or a Big Mac or whatever the hell they do. And suddenly, they're buying your existing products plus the new product. That's how you win. So if you're Marvel or DC, play to your base. Absolutely play to your base. Meanwhile, try a couple things like we've seen in the past to get the new audience in. But for the love of God, don't take like a foundational product like Avengers and go, you know what? We need a new audience, so we better destroy the old one. So let's completely change the Avengers to be something unrecognizable to existing comic readers, and we're going to appeal to this new audience that we have no guarantee is actually going to show up. And sure enough, they don't. So I don't mean to harp on it, but the premise here is just broken. It's this idea, and this is stuck in people in comment. It's stuck in their heads. The idea of, hey, a lot of older readers are wanting us to do something, but we can't do that because if we do that, then those older readers are going to die, and then we'll have nothing. Well, I'm sorry. There's actually no brand in existence that suggests that that's true. None. I use the example of retail shops. There are plenty of old businesses that got behind on their bills, never invested in marketing, never did anything new. But the problem wasn't because they just kept doing the same old things. The problem is that they never actually teased anything new, or or the business model changed on them. Look, I mean, is Target and Walmart and Kmart that fundamentally different? At the end of the day, no. So why did Kmart why did it collapse? Well, simple. It just they couldn't keep up with the goods and services of those other places that continued. Like, we'll put a Starbucks into Target, and we're going to add different things into Walmart. I mean, there's just they invested into making more out of their shop while simultaneously appealing to their base. Walmart still is running by and large the same dumb play they've run forever, and so is Target. They just added, and added is the key. Anyway. It's a silly thing to argue about. The part that's painful to me is this is really obvious. It's marketing and business 101. Easy. You don't screw this up unless you're super dumb. But, comics. Thanks for listening.